All right, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday evening. Welcome back to Health Rethink to our channel. I am fresh out of the shower with my hair wet, and we have had some power cuts and water pressure dropping in the area where we're staying at the moment. So I've got my wet hair, and as the weekend is kind of ending off, of course, many people find that their brains are kind of switching to the week planning and all the crazy busyness of the week that's coming up. But I thought that we can tonight just take a few moments to talk about some of the questions that keep popping up when we speak to people about their healthy lifestyle choices and what the value of that may be. So I'm going to just see if I can sort out my sound here a little bit. We've had some technical issues, so it would be very nice for those of you who are tuning in live to maybe just share with us in the comment section if you're able to hear us or if it feels like the sound isn't coming through clearly. Be sure to put that in the comment section. Thank you to Adrian for doing our technical working in the background here. We are still learning this platform and learning all the different areas. But tonight I want to say a warm welcome to Mduduzi, a friend of mine that I've been working with in the past year. And it's really nice to have you here with us, Mduduzi. You have had an interesting past with lots of experiences as life has taken you on various roads. And I know that your full testimony is available on the internet. So we will put the link to that if it's all right with you. We'll put the link of your full testimony in the description box for this video, where people can get the full picture of sort of what your past background has been and different experiences that you've had. But I thought that tonight maybe you can share with us a very brief summary of that. And in particular, we will zone in on as you think back over previous chapters of your life, to share with us in brief what the lifestyle habits were that you may have been involved in at that stage in terms of your health and how that affected your health negatively potentially. And I know that you have made some changes in recent years. So maybe you can also then just share with us a little bit about what the changes were that you made, and maybe we can start off by, if you can share with us a little bit about what motivated you to make those lifestyle changes in the first place, and then towards the end we will maybe find out from you how that affected your health, how you experienced your health to be different, and how it is at the moment. So I've given you a mouthful, but you can maybe start us off with just briefly introducing us. And for the viewers who haven't seen your testimony yet and who don't know much about your background, you can share with us a little bit about what your life journey has been, and we'll get Adrian to share one or two pictures along the way as well.
Okay. Let me start by greeting everyone, that is the viewers, of course. And I just want to also be, or rather to thank you for the privilege of having me on this platform to share with you. Yeah, you have said a mouthful, and I'm trying to think where to begin. It's not easy.
Ago, so you'll have to start off with sharing us where you grew up, maybe, and we have to have a chance at least to share one of those pictures because they are too precious.
Okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, it was when we were still young and innocent. But anyway, yeah, that one specifically, it's a cute one.
It is very
Yeah. Well, that was in KZN. That's where I was born, and that's where I was raised up to probably the age of 6, 7. And I'm not sure how old I was on that one. But yeah, it seems as though at that time I was already able to utter 2, 3, or 4 words. So,
yeah.
so yeah, and yeah, that one is an interesting one. Um, there, I think I was doing. It was actually my graduation. There was a standard 5, moving on, of course, from primary school to senior secondary or high school. And yeah, as you can see, there were some influences already there. based on the dress code there. I think the American influence was creeping in there. So yeah,
I would assume some of that influence was not just from your school friends, but potentially also maybe a little bit of exposure to media as well.
well, to be honest, that was all media. That was the kind of music that one was exposed to. That is where the influence came from. The so-called hip hop or rap music. As you can see, the dress code it actually is imitating, some of the rap singers and hip hop singers and so on. So that was media. That's what was and here, wow. Um, hey, I'm not sure how to describe that one, but as you can see, that's me and my friends. You can see in the way we are standing there that it's not people whom you can really trust. So at that stage, I was deep into the criminal lifestyle. Still young. I'm sure that was about the ages of 13, 14, 15.
Yep.
Two of my best friends when I was growing up. And yeah,
I see our connection,
so yeah,
the internet connection is falling out here and there a little bit. But I think you were mentioning
yes.
how already at a fairly young age you were involved with not only yourself but also with your friends group with some activities that weren't entirely legal.
No, no, they were not legal at all.
Mm.
Okay, that one. It's what someone said. It's I don't know, mug shot or what. What is it really called? But
Uh, More or less, how
yeah,
old were you at
that
this stage?
at that stage, I was around the age of, I think, 1920, somewhere there. Yeah, 1920. Yeah. I got arrested there, and then I got sentenced to 8 years. That's, yeah, the photo that they take of you in, in, um, in jail or in prison. Yeah. So, yeah, that's,
Now I know
that's the
that,
photo there.
yeah, and I know that for many of our
But
viewers, there's a lot that probably goes through people's minds because
yes,
I'm pretty sure people are quite curious as to what the events were that kind of led up to you ending up in prison. And of course, our time is a little bit limited this evening. So, again, I would like to encourage our viewers to watch your full testimony about how you ended up there and also what happened after that. Because, as people can very clearly see, you're not in prison anymore. Um,
yes,
we have gotten to know a slightly different side, and I'm
that
trying to
side.
remember now more or less at which stage you ended up leaving the gangster sort of environment.
Yeah. It has been since 20, let me see, 2012, 2013 there. Um, yeah, it has been quite some time now, more than 10 years.
Mm.
And God has been good. And God has been good. Made a lot of changes, and He has been carrying me through.
Yeah.
He has been carrying me
Now,
through.
specifically related to those changes that you were mentioning, as people can see, there may have been probably more changes throughout the years that you can summarize in a short discussion. But I know that some of those changes were certainly changes in your belief system, changes in the faith that you practiced before going to prison and then in later years. And I know that your relationship with God made a big impact on you and had a very big part to play in the changes that you underwent. But I'm also curious in
Yes.
particular about sort of how you would describe your health lifestyle before you went to prison, maybe. So during your youth years, when you were influenced by media, but also by friends, and involved in a group of friends that probably didn't regard the the way that they cared for their bodies with the highest respect. How did that influence you, and what was the basic sort of components of your diet and your lifestyle at that stage?
Well, I always say that one's mindset is the constitution which governs one's life.
Mm.
And it also is, of course, the inventor of one's lifestyle, if I can use the word. Or
Mm.
rather, one's lifestyle is a product of one's mindset. So, in a way, the way in which you think or the way in which you perceive life and many more other things in life will kind of govern how you live your life. And
Yep.
for me, I mean, growing up, my mindset was obviously completely corrupted, as it is with everybody else's mindset, as we know that none is righteous. We are all, to some extent, are corrupted. But for me, of course, it was not only that. The influences, of course, even knowledgeable when it comes to health. um, we have our cultural diets as blacks, as whites, and so on and on. And those diets we have grown to believe that are the best, diets for us. Because I mean, our great grandfathers and so on have, lived like that and ate like that,
Mm.
for the rest of their lives. And some of them, they have lived quite long. And then we tend to believe that that is the best way to do things and to live. So
Mm.
for me, not only was, my upbringing at home, because I was taught, for example, that, I mean, pap is the best. It will fill you and I think that was it. As long as my stomach is full, as to the nutritional value of the meal itself, that didn't matter. What mattered is my appetite is satisfied and my stomach is full. That's it. And
Yeah.
then, of course, there were other kinds of, or rather, other aspects of my lifestyle which were not that good, were not optimal for me, such as me being introduced to smoking and drinking. And that too, you grow in an environment where smoking and drinking is not a problem. Everybody does it. And
Mm.
sometimes the parents now and again, they give, a little bit to their children to drink. You sit at home and the parents smoke around you. And you don't tend to think that these habits will have a negative effect upon your health.
Yeah.
So you take it as a norm, and you think that it is a good thing. Nothing is wrong about this. And
Mm.
therefore, when you grow up, you adapt these habits and you make them yours. And you would smoke, you would drink like I did too. And even just in living your life, you sleep anytime you want. You can sleep at 12, at 1. Sometimes you don't sleep. You go overnight.
Mm.
There's many things that you do, even in eating. As long as your appetite is appealing for something to eat, you go and eat, and satisfy your appetite.
Mm.
You desire something sweet, you go and get it quickly and eat. You desire something salty, you go and get it and eat. You don't stop and ask as to how will these things, impact my health. How are these things going to affect me? So that was
That's right.
kind of like the lifestyle that I was living. Anything
Mm.
went. As those who would say, I did what I wanted. I did what I saw fit for me. Mm.
Yep.
Even though it was
And
not
that's
fit,
a
of course.
absolutely, and it's a very good point that you've mentioned, is that it is it's not that you were strange in doing that, because that is how society to a large extent is
Yes.
set up. It's in fact also not something that is particularly peculiar to people who are
Yeah.
involved in gangsterism or teenagers who are rebellious or anything like that. It is actually part of our everyday lifestyle.
Yes.
very much
It's
accepted
our
in
culture.
society for people kind of to. In fact, we're taught, listen to your body. If your body says you need chocolates, then you obviously need it. If you crave this, then
Yes.
you clearly need it. So you have to listen to your body, and that philosophy is very strongly advocated in many cultures, not just in some cultures or in some
Yes.
countries. Now, with that being said, before we go on to how you experienced changes or why you made certain changes, can you remember anything specifically relevant in the time period where you were eating and drinking like that and smoking and using alcohol and all of those things? Do you recall how your health was at that stage? Do you remember um, anything in particular, either with mental clarity or with your physical health, that stands out to you?
There was a lot of things. One of the things that I remember particularly is the fact that I had a what you would call chronic stomach ache, where I would have these stomach cramps, almost every day, specifically in the evening and sometimes in the morning hours. And my stomach would just, be painful and painful. I wouldn't really say it was the stomach. To some extent, I think it had to do with my intestines or what's or not.
Mm, mm,
But of course, I'm not gonna get into details with that. But I had that, and also, of course, the fogginess, mental fogginess. My mind was not that clear. It's like, when for those who perhaps have experienced drugs, whether it be when you go and take out the teeth and then they inject something and you feel, that numbness and so on. That for me was normal, mentally speaking. My brain was just, yeah, constantly cloudy, and there was nothing wrong about that. For me,
yeah.
that was normal at the time because I didn't know better. I didn't know the difference, and as I've said, lack of knowledge and the education we get from the community. And
Mm,
sometimes, and I am saying this with all carefulness and all respect and humbleness, to the medical field, but sometimes even, the academics, they tend to convince us that there's nothing wrong with these things. They would say if you just do it moderately. For example, you can drink alcohol, but do it moderately. You can smoke cigarette, but smoke it moderately. So, I mean, you
mm,
don't tend to think that the stomach ache that I'm having is due to the fact that I am overindulging in food. And before I sleep, you would eat. I mean, you have about maybe 2 minutes before you sleep, and then you would eat, heavy meals, and then go to bed. And then you
mm,
wonder why I wake up with stomach aches and stomach cramps in the night. Because nobody really associated overeating with
yeah.
stomach aches or anything of that kind. So you would think of other things which are not really the reason for your or the cause for your problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those two things specifically. And what else can I mean, there were some pains also that I would have now and again. I remember I had a knee pain, and that was also kind of, chronic in a sense. And yeah, those were some of the things that I experienced at the time.
Absolutely. And what I also find relevant in thinking back so many years, into the past, very often the symptoms that we have, as you've also mentioned, are things that we don't even realize this is abnormal. Sometimes you kind of get used to just feeling a certain way, and it's only when you make certain
Yes.
changes at that stage that you realize, oh wait, that wasn't actually part of how normal feels. That was abnormal,
Yes.
that was uncomfortable, and now I'm actually experiencing something different. So coming towards sort of the time period where you started seeing your life differently, seeing your health differently. I think, if I am correct, a big part of the motivation for your change came from your understanding of how God views you, and how He values you. If you want, you're welcome to share with us a little bit more about what the impact was of your newfound faith on your health choices.
I'm gonna try and be short, because I can go on that one, but I'll try my best. Yes. Um, in the beginning, I mentioned that, our mindsets are the architectures of our lifestyles, and our mindset are made of beliefs. Um, the things that you grew up being taught at home, the things you grew up being taught at school, and other things that you pick up within the environment. Was the result of my belief. What I believed about life, what I believed about, myself as an individual, what I believed about myself in relation to God and in relation to others. All of those things influenced the way in which I lived my life. For example, when it comes to diet or food, for that matter, I grew up believing that food does not really affect, for example, my mind. You didn't, or rather I didn't know that food can affect my mind either negatively or positively. I grew up not knowing that there are laws, that governs my physical, you know um body, or rather my body, and as a result, I did not know that, for example, I'm just going to make a simple example: eating and drinking, might affect my digestive system. I didn't know that, for example, sleeping late might affect, my brain chemicals and whatsoever, or how I, regulate these chemicals and so on. And that was my belief. And I did not really believe that much in God either. And even if I did, for me, God was a distant, landlord. He's far away there. He is not that interested in what I'm doing down here. He has given me life, and he has given me all these appetites and desires to enjoy in whichever way I see fit. So
Mm.
he is not involved. It's my choice. It's my body. I can do what I will because it's my body. He has given it to me. So that was kind of like the beliefs that I had, at the moment. And those beliefs influenced, or rather, they kind of gave birth to the choices that I made, And when I came to the knowledge of truth, when I came to the knowledge of who God is, and what is God's will for me, that drastically changed the way I saw myself, the way I saw the world in general, and the way I related to others, and then I began to realize that, wow, I am the son of the king, I am created to live a noble life, I am created to enjoy life to the fullest, and healthily so, God has given me laws that governs my beings, my being. And as a result, if I adhere to these laws are not to restrain me from enjoying life or from the good things or whatever the case may be, but these laws are intended, to kind of keep me in a safe space,
Yep.
and to help me, really enjoy life as God has intended me to enjoy it. So, yes, my belief had much to do. In fact, the magnitude of what my knowledge of God and Christ has done in my life, the magnitude of that effect, I can't, it's incalculable. It's beyond, what I can even now try and, explain or comprehend. I believe we will only know in eternity future as to what exactly did that do for us and in us. And so, yes, that's in a nutshell what my
Absolutely.
belief did.
I I really appreciate what you mentioned there, that at the end of the day, there are lots of contributing factors to why we make changes. And of course, these contributing factors may be different from person to person. But without a doubt, one of the things that makes a big difference in this whole process is not just what you learn about what is healthy and unhealthy. Because if I were to guess, as a teenager, you probably already heard people saying that smoking is unhealthy for you, but it didn't necessarily influence your decisions. So you may have known that some of the things that you were eating or the smoking or the drinking was unhealthy, but it didn't necessarily motivate you to stay away from those things in the past. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head with how it was your knowledge about who God is that ultimately made the big difference, about understanding that, you know, the information that He gives us, the laws that He puts in place, are there for our protection, for our better health. And it's our understanding of, and certainly our perspective of who God really is, that gives a different amount of motivation when it comes to sticking to it. Like when you're trying to make a health change and you're needing to say no to some things that you used to enjoy in the past, knowing who God really is and trusting His guidance makes a difference in that process. So I'm grateful for how you shared that as well. Now, to sort of start wrapping things up, I was hoping that you can share with us what your health has been like over the last few years since you stopped drinking, since you stopped smoking. How has things changed for you? And then maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the specific lifestyle choices that you've decided to follow at the moment.
Well, as I've said that when I was living that, you know, the previous life that in the past that I used to live, there was a lot of things that were not going well, and when I changed my lifestyle, of course, as I've said, when I started, um, accepting, what God's will is for me and who He is in my life. Changes in our lives. You have mentioned that there's a lot of contributing factors that can lead to us changing our lifestyle and so on. We can modify our behavior as well and say, what, I'm changing A and B and C because I want to live a better life or whatever the reason may be. And I've tried those things as well. There were times when I tried to stop smoking, I tried to do this and that. And, I tried to use my willpower. I tried to find the power within, all the things that you can think of, outside there. But none of those things really worked, because they did not change, you know, the, the the fundamental principles that lied, beneath my mindset. The principles that really governed my life, they were still there, and they were
Yeah,
still having an influence in my life. But when I changed and accepted the heavenly principles. I would like to call them for what they are. It's heavenly principles.
yeah,
It's the great principles of righteousness that God, has freely and lovingly, given to us for our own good. Because He loves us and therefore He wants to see us thrive. He wants to see us grow to be more and more like Him. When I started, embracing those and making them mine, starting to appropriate the principles that God freely shares in the scriptures into my life.
absolutely.
The stomach ache, the fogginess, it was gone. I remember when I just accepted the faith, that is now being a Christian. There were certain uh, um, uh, Bible books that I couldn't understand, because, for example, the book of Daniel, there's a prophecy there, the 2,300 day prophecy, and it has a lot of, uh, divisions, if I can use the term, from here to there, the 70 day, from here to there, all of those things, 457 BC to this. I couldn't grasp those things. But I remember this one day after I had made, a change of lifestyle, I have started eating plant-based, foods. I have starting, not to eat in between meals, I'm exercising, incorporating, I mean, the principles that, of course, are there to guide us in order for us to live an optimal life, drinking enough water and doing all of these things that one needs to do.
Mm.
When I started doing that, and of course, consuming good information, whether it be through media or whatsoever, when I started doing that, um, I remember this one day I was studying this book of Daniel, and I was trying to memorize, these dates and all of those things. And just like that, I grasped it. And I was amazed that I have been struggling with these kind of things, like memorizing certain things and so on.
Mm.
But immediately when I changed my lifestyle, it was not long. I think it was about a year or two when I
Mm.
started noticing, that there were very serious changes. And I'm sure the changes happened earlier, but I didn't notice them earlier because your mind, you are not really aware or conscious
Yeah.
of the things that are happening. But at some stage, you stop and you wonder. I used to have a stomach ache every evening. I know that every morning. It's gone. I'm no longer, having those kind of things. You
Mm.
know, I used to have this mental fogginess. But it's no longer there. My mind is clear. I can make now sound judgment. I mean, everything is now working properly.
Mm.
So even my energy levels. You remember when you were here, I used to share how it is that when it comes to jogging, I love jogging. I mean, I can run and run and run. Just nothing. It's as though I can run nonstop if I wish to, and nothing will really happen in a sense that I feel I'm tired or whatever. Yes, the knees, the legs, the physical aspect will tell me that you have been going for too long, but the energy levels are there constant. They are not changing.
Mm.
Those kind of things. Waking up in the morning and wake up energetic. There is no tiredness or whatso not. You are happy. Especially in the morning hours. Those are one of my favorite hours of the days. I mean, when I wake up and I'm just energetic and fresh and ready to go. So I'm trying to compress all of these things and summarize it. But yeah, I hope that you get where I'm going, and the viewers as well. They get where I'm going with this.
Mm.
The truth is, there has been amazing and wonderful changes that took place in my life after the change.
Yeah.
I get excited, so you will forgive me if.
No, that's absolutely fine. And you've actually pointed out something that has been on my mind since yesterday in particular. I had a conversation yesterday, and it wasn't the first time that somebody said to me that, unfortunately, for those of us who've made some health changes, the view that many people have is that when we have decided to, eat plant based or, for instance, change a little bit with the way that we respect the necessity for sleep and for exercise and all of these things, there are many people who say that our um, our zeal and our excitement for encouraging other people to also make healthy lifestyle choices is founded on the fact that we are judging them, that we judge what they're doing, and that we are, condemning them for their life choices. And just listening to you speaking, I I see very clearly that you're actually trying your best to hold back, because you could easily speak for 2 hours about how you feel that your life has improved. And maybe if you want to share one or two comments on the idea that when we've made a switch in our lives, say for instance, having decided to follow a plant-based diet, what do you say to people who think that now you are judging everybody who's eating meat, as opposed to that inner sense of just being overwhelmed with how grateful you are with how your life has improved, and wishing that you can, wishing that same abundance of life onto others?
That question.
I'm
And
putting you on the spot.
I'll try to answer it as carefully as I can. I do want to start by first saying that the truth is, or the truth rather lies in the motive as to why am I telling you what I'm telling you. And we cannot really read people to say things that they usually say to others. So I do want to say that yes, there might be a bit of truth in the fact that some of us who are now living what we call a healthy lifestyle and whom have made these choices to change, and probably go plant based and so on. Maybe some of us do judge. I do not know, I cannot really speak for everyone, but your question was directed to me personally, and therefore I will speak, for myself. And speaking for myself, I will also speak in the context of, what is God's will and what is God's desire for humanity. I want to start by saying, the basis of what we are doing now, and knowing you, I believe it is the same thing that drives you. It's love. I want to start there. And for those of us, who understand love to be, an essential quality of a good character. For those of us who understand love as the very nature of God, and not an emotion, but rather a principle that governs everything that we do in our lives. We are kind because kindness is the fruit of love, because I claim that I wish to see you prosper, in everything that you do. Therefore, I am kind towards you. And therefore, I set a platform for you to grow and become the best that you can become. Why? Because I esteem you highly, above and beyond myself, and that is what we define as love, so me telling someone that the food that you eat, is not good for you. And of course, I'm not going to go around raiding people, going into people's houses and pointing fingers at their tables, opening their refrigerators and saying, you can get rid of this out of your refrigerator, get rid of that out of your table. But when the opportunity presents itself, like, platforms such as these, where we want to share with the people as to what it is that God's ideal for them. Why? Because God wants to see them prosper. Let's make one thing very clear here. The commandment that says, "Thou shalt have no other God before me," it has nothing to do with selfishness. God is not selfish. God is protecting you. Because the minute you worship food, or rather you put food, or you put your first and supreme affections upon food, food becomes your slave master, you know, and it is going to destroy you, you see, in ways that you have never even begun to imagine. So when it comes to me telling you that this is the best way in which you can live your life, it is not because I'm condemning you. We need to be careful when we use the word condemn, because the word condemn means to execute judgment, or to make a verdict. I'm not saying you are going to hell. If I had said that, I would have judged you. But I'm saying the life that you are living is not the best for you. That is counsel. And it's coming from a loving heart. I am trying to show you that there are other options in life which are best and good for you. The choice is still yours, and the judge will make the verdict, not me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I, once again, as you're sharing, I'm seeing that motivation in you, that when you've had a life that has had a 180-degree turnaround, when you've come from one point and experienced the change, when you've personally experienced how God is able to take away the desires for things that are hurtful to you, things that you've tried on your own to let go of and you fail, when you have experienced how God is able to actually make you free from that, it's very hard to stay silent. And like you also mentioned, people sometimes perceive our excitement to share as feeling judged by us or something along those lines. But it is really difficult to stay quiet and silent when you have experienced such tremendous change in your own life. When you have had health problems that you struggled with for years and years without finding solutions, and then suddenly you find something that works, and your health problems actually improve. It's hard to keep that in. It's hard not to go to other people and say, can you believe what I found? Don't you want to try this? Because we care about other people. And one of the reasons why I enjoy sharing with you and chatting about this together is because I know from my own experience in working with you that you share with us as well that deep sense of wishing that those people in our world who are suffering, in tremendous suffering that doesn't seem to have an end, we wish upon each one of those people to find solutions that can end their suffering. And I think I speak for both of us when I say that we have come to know that God has solutions, and very often, as we put into practice what He's already revealed to us in the past, we are able to find tremendous improvement for things that may have seemed a little bit hopeless in the past. So I'm really grateful for what you were able to share. I'm going to encourage our viewers, if there's anyone who wants to put some questions through in the chat box, they're welcome to share some questions. If there's anybody who wants to ask you a question directly, are there any other last thoughts from your side as we just give our viewers a moment to share their questions?
There is something that I'm thinking about actually now. You know, for those who are married and those who are not, who even in friendships, just all the different um, platforms of relationships. We all know that any and every relationship has laws that governs it. And the reason why we have those laws is to protect ourselves from things that are hostile to us.
Mm.
Whether they spring forth from us, who are involved in the relationship, or they are coming from outside. For example, the reason why I will not say things that are hurtful to you, you know it is not because I think that I am better in how to use my talent of speech. It is not because I've mastered the art of dialogue, but it is because I know that if I were to say anything hurtful to you, anything hostile to you, I am destroying you. I am destroying you. But here is the thing now. I'm not only destroying you, I'm destroying myself, you know, because in the whole process, of me doing things that are hurtful to others, there is guilt, there is shame, which also destroys me in return. Now, when we think of God, God is our Father who loves us, who made us, and He wants to have a relationship with us. And as a result, He has erected, or He has made these laws, and which are the laws of love, to protect us express our love one to another as healthy as possible. And the minute we violate those laws, we are not simply rebelling against God, but we are violating our own beings. We are destroying ourselves. We are killing ourselves. And in return, we will reap the fruits of what we have sown, because the consequences are sure to come, And when they do come, you will find that actually you are the one who suffers the most. For example, in cases, and I'm not saying everybody who gets sick, it is because of the lifestyle that they live. There's many other reasons why we get sick. I mean, air pollution, water, pollution, whatever you can think of. Some of the things are unavoidable. But the point is, when the consequences comes, it is most of the times due to the choices that we have made. And the reason why, for me, it is so important, to try and encourage others to see a better way in life. It is not merely because, like we have mentioned now, it is not merely because we are feeling good. It is not merely because of the things that we have experienced, but it is because of the things that we desire they should experience and they should, see and have in life. It is all for their good. So I really pray and hope that people will understand that all of these things are not done, with some personal agendas. They are not done with evil motives. They are not done because we are trying to show people how much we know and how little they know. In fact, we know nothing. But the thing that we are trying to do is to help them and ourselves to have the life that God has intended for us. And the life that God is intended for us is a life that is free of all the negative elements and, of course, strange elements that we are having in our lives, such as mental illnesses, physical illnesses. These things are foreign in God's plan. And therefore, God is trying by all means to help us keep them out of our lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that and for emphasizing that. One of the things that pops into my mind as well as you are sharing is exactly that, that we forget that he is a loving father, and when a parent is sharing some guidelines with their children about what to stay away from, don't touch the hot plate on the stove, don't push your finger into the plug, that instruction from that parent does not come from a point of arrogance, it comes from a point of love. And the other thing that comes to my mind is that people forget sometimes that when you're trying to learn something, when you're studying a topic, the best advice that you are given on the internet and in many platforms where you are, when we teach students how to study, often it is said that they should read it once, um, and then say it once and teach it. Once you've actually taught something, you remember it better. So people also, I think, can bear in mind that when you are putting a couple of healthy principles into practice in your own life, we are not only driven to share with others what we are experiencing because of the positive impact that we see in our own lives, but in the process of sharing with others, we are also helping ourselves to learn. Every time we share about a health topic, and I know this is very much true for me, every time I prepare a health talk that I'm going to present somewhere, I'm learning in the process because it kind of forces me as well to study the topic out again or to do some further research. So at the end of the day, we are never teaching other people out of a point of, oh, we know everything. Our very experience of teaching is how we also learn in return. And I think that is how God's principle works. It's one of the reasons why he taught the disciples to go out and teach other people. Not because he was declaring
Yes.
that they are now perfect and they know everything. He was encouraging them to teach other people because he knew that that would deepen their own understanding of who God really is.
Yes.
Now, the last thing I would like to end off with for our viewers is we have been talking about the laws of health, and you've also referred to them as you were sharing. And for those who haven't actually seen much about the laws of health or who are not quite familiar with them, there's a very easy acronym that we often use to help people to know what these laws of health are. The acronym is the New Start acronym. So, for anybody who wants to know more about the New Start acronym and how it summarizes the healthy laws of life or the health principles that we can try and implement in our daily lives, they're welcome to look at our website or, of course, on some of the other sites. Even if people just Google the New Start Health Principles, they'll find a host of information there. I also want to encourage people to just have a look at Mduduzi's online platforms. You have a Facebook page, if I understand correctly, and you also have a website where people can go and see some of the articles that you share there in your blog. So we will not only post that on the screen at the moment, but we will also make sure that those links are in the description box. Nduduzi, thank you very much for joining us today. I was wondering maybe if we can just end off with a short prayer for those who are listening, and as we are ending off the weekend, ending off the day, and heading into the new week, maybe we can just close our eyes for a short prayer. Join me as we pray. Our Heavenly Father, I want to say thank you that you have given us another opportunity to share, to talk, and to remember where we have come from, to remember how you have led us in the past, and to remember how you always have the best in mind for us. We know that very often, as we learn about new things that we should implement in our lives, these changes can feel like a big mountain. They can feel so overwhelming. But I'm grateful that yet again today we have been encouraged with Mduduzi's testimony that when we walk forward in obedience, that we will always see in the end that you have plans only to prosper us and never to harm us. Thank you for how you have also been with us and how you have promised to be with us in the future. We thank you for this opportunity and we pray this in Jesus' name alone. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you once again, and thank you to the viewers
Okay.
who have been
Oh,
watching. For those who will be watching afterwards, we hope that you have been blessed by this testimony. And yeah, we'll see you again next time.